Okay, so the brain stem, right? The brain stem sort of sticks out, the bottom here. And again, it consists of three structures. And if we're looking top to bottom, we're going to see this is, or from the most rostral aspect, right? This is the most superior aspect, right? This is the midbrain. And you can see it's right in the middle of the brain, right? And then you've got the pons right here. And then you've got the medulla is the most caudal end of the brainstem, right? And there's a number of really important structures in the brainstem. One thing you can sort of see very, I think pretty clearly here, there's a bump there and a bump there. If we look at the sort of, let's see here, let me pull this off. The dorsal surface of the brainstem. So I'm going to move this down here. So this is only one half right here we're looking at. Let me see if I get that so you can actually see it. Well, anyway, you can see there's a bump there and a bump there. And there's an analogous bump on the other side, analogous bump over here. There's a superior set of bumps on this dorsal surface, right? Remember, we're in the brainstem spinal cord axis, so dorsal is the back, right, basically here. And the superior bumps are called the superior colliculi because colliculus is bump in Latin. And then the lower bumps, the lower row of bumps there, that's called the inferior colliculi. And we're going to see that the superior colliculi are critically important for visual orienting. So like if something weird happened over here and you turned, and looked at it, and you didn't have a choice, that's basically dependent on kind of reflexive orienting responses from, mediated by the superior colliculi in the brainstem, and that helps you identify the dorsal surface of the brainstem as the appearance of all these bumps, the dorsal set, the two superior colliculi, and the two inferior colliculi. Between the the superior and the inferior colliculi is another little bulgy thing there. It's actually a gland. It's missing on all these brains. Tends to be pulled off. It is actually the pineal gland, which is really important for the release of a hormone called melatonin in response to declining light levels. We're going to be talking about visual, sensation and perception soon, and there are projections from the eye to the hypothalamus, and from the hypothalamus to the pineal gland, and when the light levels drop, that allows for release of this hormone melatonin, from the pineal gland, which helps you to start going to sleep. So the brainstem, you can start to see, has a lot of important, kinds of reflexive and sort of, bodily maintenance kinds of aspects. There are, really important, parasympathetic outputs right through the vagus nerve. There's control of respiratory rate, heart rate, obviously, aspects of the internal environment that need to be sort of maintained. There's a great deal of reflexive motor responses. For example, that orienting response is something unusual or novel, but also, for example, like just the facial expression changes that you make when you're like, huh, what? Or when something happens and you don't have a lot of time to sort of think about it. There's output to the 44 muscles of expression and to, body posture. Something, frightening just happened, you'd be like, you go into a very specific stereotyped, kind of face and body positioning, and that would be mediated by brainstem. There are, of course, all of those modulatory neurotransmitter systems. The PPT, which releases acetylcholine in the thalamus, right? You have the VTA and the substantia nigra, who send their, axonal projections out and make synaptic connections in many parts of the brain. You've got the Raphe nuclei in the brainstem that send and release serotonin in many parts of the brain. And you've also got the locus ceruleus, which responds to, boom, unexpected, with, again, orienting and, greater alertness, to novel or unexpected sorts of stimuli. And then, finally, in the brainstem, you have lots and lots of ascending afferent tracts. So you've got lots of sensory information, that's coming from the body, for example, and from the head, right, coming in through the brainstem, but ascending through, to get to maps in different regions of the cortex or other structures that are located in the brain. And you also have lots of motor output, like lots of motor cabling, lots of axons that are coming from, say, the precentral gyrus in the frontal lobe on each side that are descending and, ultimately meaning, efferent output neurons from the brainstem and from the spinal cord to move your body around. So the brainstem is very, very important, for arousal, for, stereotype sorts of responses, and also, for maintaining the internal milieu, and also for ascending afferent and descending kind of efferent tracts.